Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks for tuning in and taking some time out of your schedule to listen to us have a conversation with my first guest. So I'm going to introduce him on this inaugural episode. This athlete may possibly be one of the first athletes I ever treated in the varsity clinic. She played 4 years on our women's volleyball team, but defected to the University of New Brunswick to play out her 5th and final year. And I'm sure we'll cover the reason for this in our discussion. Some quick stats on this individual from our Go Heat website. She will also have to correct me or add anything I may have missed, as she's a very humble person. So I'm going to pump her tires for her because she likely won't do it herself, which again speaks to her character. So forgive me, I'm just reading off this. I can't remember all these things. So a graduate of Immaculata Regional High School here in Kelowna. She was part of the junior heat before signing on with the varsity squad. She found nothing but success in her career with the Heat as the Kelowna product and reached the Canada West Final Four in all 4 of her playing seasons. Her 548 kills puts her in the top 10 in Heat history, while her 472 digs puts her in 12th place in program history. She was a model student athlete throughout her career, as she has achieved academic All-Canadian status in every season of her career here at UBCO. If you haven't figured it out already, my first guest is Siobhan Fitzpatrick. I have had the pleasure of getting to know her over the last 3 playing years at UBCO. We now enjoy catching up when she's home, visiting her family, usually over a beer or 2 at one of our favorite breweries. Siobhan began her career at UBCO in 2013 as a redshirt, hit the court for her first match in 2014 season, playing 4 consecutive seasons, graduating in 2018. So without further ado, welcome, Chev. I'm going to unmute you. There we go.
Perfect. Hello. That was quite the intro. Thank you.
Like that one? How's that?
That was good. That was good.
I was reading that. I was like, wow, that's some impressive numbers. I actually never read that before. I've heard over the years, of course, but that's awesome.
Well, thank you. Much appreciated. You are right. I would have never said any of that myself. So good thing that you said it.
Oh, awesome. You have to forgive my office. I'm a little scattered. I'm trying to find the best way. I spun it around to have the heat in the background, but then my face was all black because the light wasn't very good. And anyways, I'm not a videographer. I don't know these things. So
you're all good. You look good.
You got the mess here. So yeah, how are you?
Good. I mean, given these unprecedented times, I think everyone's kind of in a little bit of a what is going on right now, but all things considered, I'm pretty good. I'm home right now, back in Kelowna, so I'm doing all my schooling online, so it's kind of nice to be back in the Okanagan.
Yeah, I bet it is. It's awesome to have you back, and hopefully when some of these restrictions lift, we can actually see each other in person, which would be nice. I know we've chatted a few times over the phone over the past couple of weeks, so it'd be really good if we can get together before you have to head back to the other side of the country. So do you want to talk about that a little bit first, and we can get into some other things? So I know we've got a list of questions to kind of go through and keep us on track, but so how are you out in the East Coast?
Yeah, so I'm entering my 3rd year of the PhD program in clinical psychology at the University of New Brunswick. So I did a cross-Canada trip to do my grad school.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love the East Coast. The East Coast is it's great. The people are so friendly, so laid back. I have a group of really good friends there, so it's been pretty good.
Nice. Yeah, we have an East Coaster that I work with here.
You have 2, Steve Manuel and Jeff Thorburn, both East Coasters.
Right. Of course, you can't forget you're a former coach too. That's right.
Yeah, they were actually the ones who they kind of convinced me a little bit of it. I applied to 7 schools, so like I applied across the country in order to try and get into grad school. And Steve and Jeff were the ones who were like, "You should go to UNB, you should go to Fredericton," and I was like, "All right, cool."
That's awesome. So what? I mean, let's take a step back a little bit and talk about that build up to where you are now. But like, what brought you into kind of playing volleyball and like the sport that obviously that you had to have or still have a passion for, right?
Yeah, so I played a lot of sports growing up. I literally did everything from like dance to soccer to basketball to volleyball. I did everything. But I really kind of started to find my passion for volleyball as I progressed through high school. So like grade 9 through grade 12, it kind of became my love. and I played for my high school coach, Brian Dorostovich, who really got me into like learning the skill of volleyball. And then I got to know Steve Manuel, Becky Kaczynski, and then Jackie as I played club volleyball for junior heat. So it was kind of through them that I started to cultivate my passion for the sport and then became interested in competing post-secondary. So they were all kind of influences in my life prior to me coming to UBCO.
That's awesome. And like, because you were part of, did you say you're part of the junior heat program? Is that right?
Yeah.
Did that create that pathway to make it, I guess, easier to kind of make the decision to go to UBC Okanagan?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I kind of wanted to stay home anyways for my undergraduate at least, because I knew I wanted to pursue graduate school. So it was good to be able to stay home, save some money. And obviously the UBCO Heat program for women's volleyball has a really great reputation. They have won championships, won national titles or national third place titles. So I knew that the volleyball program at UBCO was really credible, and it was like an honor for me to have played there, and it was a goal of mine. So yeah, it was kind of like the easiest choice for me to stay home and play.
Yeah, that's awesome. Were there other schools that you were considering, or was it just UBCO? This is it. This is my choice.
Yeah, I got recruited by other schools, but I definitely had my eyes set on UBCO. I was pretty determined. Steve Manuel did a pretty good job. Him and I are good pals now. But he did a pretty good job of kind of me finding my passion at home and really sold it for me to stay and play for him.
Yeah, for sure. I went to university out in Ontario, and I moved away for my first year, but then ended up going back and living at home. And do you think there's a lot of advantage for living at home and university while you're going to university while you're still living at home? Is those some of
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I had the absolute luxury of living with my mom, and my mom, bless her heart, is like the best mother in the world. So like coming home to home cooked meals, like I could not ask for better. And then also just having that like built-in support system. So like my mom being there for me as you kind of, the transition from high school to first semester of university is a huge transition, and everyone, I think, to some extent goes through some bumps in the road. So it was incredible to have my mom there for me and my brother too. And then as well too, the transition from high school sport to university is also a huge bump in the road. So to kind of have that like built-in network at home I found it extremely helpful. So I am very happy that I stayed home for that reason too.
For sure. And then of course now you've I find in my hometown of Burlington, Ontario, there's people that kind of get stuck in their bubble a little bit and they don't want to leave. Now you obviously stepped out of that Kelowna bubble, if you will, and head off to the East Coast, which is quite a move. And how have you found that transition? Obviously, you're a mature adult now instead of a 17, 18-year-old kid coming.
Mature adult.
Yeah. So we have there's obviously differences there in age, of course, and maturity level. But how has there been any things that have been challenging having to move away and still be in school, but now be a little bit older?
Yeah, for sure. I think most kids typically, like if you go away for university, they experience that transition when they're like, 18, 19?
That's right, yeah.
I experienced it 23. So it was a little bit delayed, but I definitely kind of went through what most typical first years go through. So like the missing home, the like actually learning how to cook for yourself, still a challenge.
Yeah, I agree.
Doing all these things and like becoming an independent human being. I definitely experienced that for first semester. And then also the transition from undergraduate to graduate studies is pretty much like a transition from high school to university. So, and then on top of that, playing volleyball at UNB for my first year, it was a lot. It was a big transition, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I had an amazing year and I'm continuing to love it out there. So it's good.
For sure. So we'll speak a little bit about that. So you did 5 years at UBCO, is that right?
Yeah, so I redshirted my first year, and then I ended up using 4 years of eligibility for the Heat. Yeah.
So you graduated with your degree in what?
I got my degree, my undergraduate degree, Bachelor of Science with honors in psychology.
Awesome. Yeah, that's right. So from there, you were obviously you knew you were pursuing grad school, and UNB was a choice for two reasons, I would say. Like one, for the actual like educational piece, but number two, potential chance to play volleyball, right?
Yeah, so I ended up having, thankfully, I had a couple options in terms of grad schools that I got accepted to, and I was kind of weighing my options between a couple schools. And it just ended up working out. My supervisor at UNB is doing research that I'm really interested in. Specifically, I'm doing a lot of research with varsity athletes, and I'm kind of in the sports psychology realm of clinical psychology. So it's definitely what I'm interested in and what I want to pursue research wise. And then as well, just like the UNB community, I got to talk to a couple of graduate students, and like the coach for UNB, I'm now really good friends with, Christine Biggs.
Nice.
So just a lot of things kind of ticked the boxes off for me. And then I ended up contacting Steve Manuel's family. So he has family who lives in Fredericton, and they've kind of become like my family away from home. So like I go there sometimes for Sunday dinners, and they like text me, and they're like my little family there. So it's a lot of things just ended up lining up for UNB, and it was the best decision I ever made.
That's good. That's good. And you had I didn't look up any stats at UNB, but I heard you had a really good season there. Is that right?
Yeah, it definitely was a really good season. They had a transition. So as I said previously, the coach, Christine Biggs, she came in the same year that I came in. So we were both new that year. We ended up defeating, Dalhousie, who was ranked the #1 team in Canada. We beat them 3-0 on our home court. We ended up making it to the AUS finals. Eventually lost that game, but it was a huge year for us. And yeah, it was awesome. I loved it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, such a and it'd be different, of course, going into a team as a fifth-year player that really is a first year on that team. The girls, I know we've chatted about this before. Those girls I heard were amazing. Is that right?
Oh my goodness, yeah. Like the welcome that I received, and just it felt like they just feel like family right away. Like there was no difference. And those girls are still a part of my life. I ended up assistant coaching this past year, and I'm going to continue to be involved in the program, I think, as I'm still at UNB. But they've been like family to me now. Like all of them, I love those girls. I made really good friends, continue to make friends in that program. So it's definitely given me a lot of lovely benefits to have.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is really awesome. So, so I'm gonna jump ahead. We got a few things. I know we've talked about these already, but about your experience playing, a varsity sport while obviously trying to juggle school as well. There's obviously a lot of challenges. There's a lot of good times, bad times. It's kind of a loaded question, but how would you say that shaped you as a person? Like, are there any kind of like attributes that it really brought out in yourself that helped develop kind of who you are?
Absolutely. I think being a student athlete, you learn so many skills that you can carry with you, not only as you pursue like academia and scholastic kind of endeavors, but as you progress as an adult and you get into the real world and the job force and everything. I think being a student athlete, you learn time management, you learn how to prioritize, all of these things that are really key in being successful later on in life. And I think a lot of people, especially people who are involved in the sporting world, but people in general, I think really take note in student athletes who can be successful and perform both on the court and in the classroom. I know for me, that was one thing that stood out for me when I was applying for graduate school. My supervisor, who also used to be a varsity athlete, said like she saw that I was an athlete and immediately was like, okay, like this is great. Like they know these qualities. So you absolutely carry with you skills that you learn as an athlete throughout the rest of your life for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like this community of people that you played sports, you kind of get it. So I get it. Yeah. And the people that I've seen go through the program in the last 5 years, and I played a little bit of varsity sport, dabbled in some soccer, but I didn't play out because I realized that I was better educationally than I was as an athlete. So I put that aside. But yeah, the definitely the skill set that it brings out in you in terms of the time management, being able to take care of your body physically, mentally, and sit down and do things when other people aren't doing those things. I know other people are out partying or doing whatever. Like, you've got a window of time to get this assignment done, or to get this project done, or to do work on study this, because you've got practice that night, and then you've got to get up and you've got to travel to wherever. There's so many things that come into play, and it's a challenging time, but it definitely it sharpens a lot of skills.
For sure.
Definitely become useful later on in life, 100%. So those are really good things to speak about, for sure.
Not to say that we didn't have fun, because we obviously have fun, but we definitely honed some skills. Leadership too. Leadership's another huge thing.
Yeah.
That kind of set you apart, I think.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. It's not like it's never any fun. It's fun. That's why we play the sport, because it's fun. And of course, there's going to be super challenging, but it's fun. But we also learn to have fun when we have time to have fun, right? And it's not like it's not all doom and gloom and sitting around and study, and all I do is study and play sport, study and play sport. You gotta find time to have some fun too, and that's super important for the mental side of things, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm going to throw this one at you. A happy moment here. Thinking about your time as an athlete, what would you say was your most memorable moment? Do you have one? Or is there too many to think about?
There's a lot. Couple kind of come to mind for me, I think. The first time that I ever started, I was a starting player at home at our home opener. That was a huge moment for me. I redshirted my first year. I definitely did my time kind of like on the bench. So when I had that moment to kind of let myself be free and actually play and be that starting lineup player after like years of, being in the gym, trying to get fit, honing my skill, that was absolutely a moment for me that I will cherish. Absolutely. And then I think another big one, and you were there too, Kev, during nationals, making it to that national championship in my 5th year, when we won that game in playoffs against Manitoba. I just remember when we won that final point, I just dropped to the ground being like, oh my God, we made it. We're going to nationals in my last year. That moment, that was a huge, huge moment. So I think those two stick out the most for me, and I get like butterflies even thinking about it. So there are definitely moments I hold near. Yeah,
likewise. So just get the shivers just thinking about that too. And there's another moment that sticks out to me during your career was I think it was your 3rd or 4th year that we hosted Final Four.
Yeah, that was my 3rd year. Yeah.
Your 3rd year, and then went on to, and that was at the year went to nationals. Were in Brandon, and guys won a.
We got bronze. Yeah.
Bronze, right? Yeah. And that was a pretty big moment too. And I mean, I've never seen. I mean, I've only been here 5 years, but I've never seen that many people in our gym ever.
That I think there were like over 1,000 people in the stands tonight. That's such another good moment too. Yeah, like that game where we played. I've never seen the gym that full. The amount of school spirit that was there. We had people in like morph suits for like the Heat colors who held signs up. People like
I could probably name those 3 individuals that were wearing the morph suits right now.
I think I can too. I don't know, but anyways, I think they were basketball players. But yeah, it was. It was such a moment. Yeah, that was a really, really cool experience to be a part of.
Yeah, those are all great experiences. And that 5th year moment for you, that was when we went to Quebec City for nationals. Is that right?
Laval, yeah, we played at Laval, yeah.
And that's a pretty cool venue to play at too, eh? The stands on either side. I mean.
Oh yeah, unbelievable. I think it's relatively new, but yeah, walking into that facility, I was like, holy, this is nice.
Big time, right? It's huge. It's such a difference from our institution here, where we're a smaller scale, but it's just amazing when you get a chance to play in those kind of facilities, right?
For sure.
We'll jump onto this question here, and you kind of helped me reword this question too. But let's talk about if you could go back and give your first year self one piece of advice. What do you think that would be?
I'm going to take this a bit from the late great Kobe Bryant, but it's definitely something that I held on to as I was an athlete. You're your best competition. Like, only focus on yourself and focus on your improvement. I know, like, every summer I would work with you and Jeff. I had the luxury of staying in Kelowna and using the facilities during the summer months because I'm from here.
Yeah.
Every summer I made it like my goal to just be better than I was last time, and to just like keep that self-improvement going as you progress throughout your career. And I think it's awesome to like compare yourself to like where you were a year ago, and to see that progress, to see that change, both mentally and physically. That was kind of my motto that I tried to kind of hold against myself as I progressed at UBCO. But that's probably what I would go back and tell my first year self, that yeah, you might be a red shirt, but you're going to end up something that's not a red shirt. You're going to be playing,
Yeah.
focus on yourself, focus on your improvement.
Yeah. I think it's a good message to deliver, that you've got to put the work in. Getting to this level is not like one of those things like, all right, sweet, made it, and I can just cruise.
Yeah, be done. I've done the work. I'm over.
Exactly, and I think we see it not so much here. I mean, we just in general, that laissez-faire attitude. It's something that is um, the strive for mediocrity at times is prevalent, and it bothers me a little bit, coming from someone who likes to achieve higher and always continue learning. So, but I think it's a great point to make. Like, hey, if you want to really improve yourself, you gotta put the work in, and you gotta continue to persevere through those challenging times, and also knowing there's a group of people here that want to see you get better and are support you to get better as well. And that could be your coaches, that could be your assistant coaches, that could be myself, it could be Jeff, it could be your student trainer. There's so many people that are surrounding you to help you get better. And I think a message is, we have to be less afraid to ask for help and say, hey, I need you to help me with this. I need you to help me with that. And would you agree with that? Would you be, there's obviously this a sense of like timidness and like, I don't want to say something. And but as a first year, we expect you not to know a lot of things, and we want you to get better. We know your potential's here, and that's why we brought you in. We want you to use the resources that you have. And
yeah, I'm a big believer, like you're your own best advocate. So if you want something, you get it. You have to have the skill or the kind of courage to ask for it. And absolutely, I came in my first year, like prior to being at UBCO, I didn't lift a weight. I didn't do any of that stuff. So if I didn't have you and Jeff, or like Steve, Becky, Jackie, Carl, all my coaches, all my teammates to rely on throughout that process, I would not have gotten any better. I would have just stayed as, a high school player who had some success, but I wouldn't have been a successful university athlete. And for me, it took me years to get to that point, right? Like I trained for a really long time to kind of get to that starting position player. But I wouldn't have gotten there without the help of so many people, and like me advocating for myself along the way.
that's important. That's a really good message to pass along. Nice. So last question, super important. Don't have to answer on here. You can text me your answer. Who is your favorite athletic therapist? Is it Jeff or is it me?
Definitely Jeff. No, I'm kidding. Oh my God, you guys are both the best. Are you kidding me? I can't decide that.
No. It's all kidding aside. It was funny because we were teaching a course. We started teaching in the human kinetics program this past year, in the lecture. And Jeff taught the first half. I taught the second half. Okay, so Jeff went in there, does his thing for the first 6 or 8 weeks, and then I jump in. And it was funny the kind of comments we got from the students that were outside of athletics that didn't know us before, and they kept confusing us because apparently we speak the same in lecture and in lab, and we teach the same, and everything's the same. We never collaborated on that. We just went in with our own style, what we thought was our own style, which apparently was the exact same style. So
yeah,
funny. So I think we're a lot of our mentality is very, very similar in the way we do things.
I mean, you guys are both like jacked, agile people, so like you're easily confused.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, like you guys made my UBCO experience so much better too. Like and I feel really lucky to have had a really close relationship with both you and Jeff. I mean, like we go for beers when I'm home. I mean, not in a pandemic, but normally.
Yeah.
You know, and just like this support system that you guys brought too, in addition to everything, like you guys were kind of like that, you were outside of the team a little bit, so you could give like a little bit of a different kind of advice or like point that might have differed. But yeah, you guys, like, I'm so happy that I'm still pals with you guys, and we'll continue to grab beers as soon as this is all over.
Oh yeah, you know what? I'll speak for Jeff on this. We appreciate, having these relationships with our athletes too, and I think it's super important that it's a safe space where you can come into our office right here, and we've had many chats in this office over the years, and I think that's important that we have that message that passed along to. We're kind of a neutral body, right? We're not a coach. We're not your parents.
You guys are Switzerland. You're a safe zone.
Yeah, we're safe zone. That's right. So we're with the tree of whatever the safety, right? Then with the tree. Anyways, no, that's great. I had another question, but I think I'll pass on this. Yeah, that's everything I wanted to say. Is there anything else you wanted to pass along to the current athletes that may be watching?
I won't know many of you anymore because I'm kind of too far removed, which is making me feel old and sad. But yeah, just like live it up in the moment. I know that sounds so cliche, but I look back on my varsity career, both at UBCO and then my year at UNB, like with such fondness. The connections I made with people, not just in my sport, but like across teams, I feel like I made a lot of really amazing friends that I still hold near and dear to my heart. So like, these are like the good years, like live them up, enjoy. When you guys can get back on the pitch or the court, like fully live it up. That's probably my cliche message to all of you.
It's a great message. It's important because these, the time you spend here, once you're out of it, you realize how much you enjoy it when you're in it. And
you realize once you're washed up, you're like, oh man, those were the times.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks, Chef, for staying, for coming in. Sorry, and taking some time out of your schedule. I know you're busy. You're currently doing some work, right, remotely, with your I guess they're, what would you say, they're meetings, I guess, or client meetings, things like that.
So, yeah, so I'm doing my practicum this summer. I work with my adult therapy practicum and as well as my child therapy practicum, both of which are now online because of COVID, but it's a good learning experience. I'm happy to be home. I likely can be here for the whole summer, which is a really great experience for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, school's going ahead.
Yeah, well, good. I'm glad you're able to come on and take some time. It's a beautiful day outside. At least when I came in the office, it was. So hopefully it still is when I leave. So thanks for taking some time, and I'll let you go out and enjoy that weather. So just stay on here. I'll stop the recording in a minute. But for now, we'll say thanks to everyone that came on, and appreciate you watching. Okay, take care.